Good morning. I'm going to give this a minute to check my audio, make sure everything's working good. Give people a minute to come on in. Is it working? It's working. Cool. If you hear my daughter screaming in the background, that's because I have a 2.5-year-old. And she's wonderful. All right. Well, let's talk about today, because today's the day. Give you guys a minute. It's crazy. It was like almost 60 degrees yesterday. Felt kind of humid. And it is currently, let me tell you exactly what it is. Give me a second. Let's see what the Mesonet says. By the way, the Oklahoma Mesonet is this awesome system put in place where you have all these stations scattered across the state of Oklahoma, and they measure temperature, wind chill, humidity, pressure, snow, rain amounts, all kinds of stuff. It's really great. So if you look right here, 25 in Tulsa, 23 in Skiatook. The freezing line is almost to Ardmore, not quite, and it'll be headed for Texas. So, okay, I'm gonna get into this now. So this morning I woke up at like 4. Well, Ricky woke me up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30. Kind of tapped my leg, and as I woke up, I just heard all these little tink 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 sounds. And I was like, it's sleep. I had set my alarm for like 3 o'clock in the morning, and walked outside because I'm insane like that, and I do these things because I love the weather. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm outside in my pajamas, touching my car to see if there's ice on it, because that's what you do when you're me. Then there wasn't any snow, or not snow. There wasn't any sleet, freezing rain, anything. So I went back to bed, and then she woke me up, and then I heard the sleet hitting the wind and hitting the window, and the wind was blowing, and so I'll go outside at 4:30 in the morning, and it's just sleet's getting all stuck in my hair, what little is left, and it was fun. So woke up this morning, and it's not bad right now, but that's the thing, right? This was just a little deal coming through. The rest is going to be here this afternoon, so let's go through that. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning, and this is at noon, so you can see here in Oklahoma a little bit of snow showers. That's probably going to be a little bit of sleet too mixed in. Down here, this is where it all begins. So if I take this forward just a little bit, boom, just full-blown winter storm. Snow, sleet, freezing rain, everything. And this is at 6 o'clock right here. So if you're in Tulsa, and this is the North American model, this is the NAM high-res model that came out. This is the noon run. So even though it's 9:50 in the morning, it's the noon run because it goes off of universal time, not central time. So yeah, so this is the latest from the North American model, and you can see it's got snow starting to come into Tulsa about 4 o'clock, and down in Dallas-Fort Worth, it looks like it's rain just west of Denton. So was that Wise County? I think that's where you start to see that transition happen. So right there, Denton and Collin County and points northward are getting slammed with freezing rain, and that's heavy freezing rain. I mean, that'll do it. You have to realize, I believe it's 1/10 of an inch of ice. So 0.10 is enough to start to lose traction on your tires on the road. And that's just freezing rain. You're going to get sleet too, and sleet completely does the roads in. But a tenth of an inch of ice, freezing rain wise, is enough to start making you lose traction on the roads. I want to say these forecasts are for half an inch of ice in some of these places of freezing rain. And that coats the trees, that coats the power lines, and I can tell you, since the fronts moved through up here in Tulsa, it is windy. I mean, really strong winds. We could approach blizzard criteria up here in points northward of Tulsa. Just so you know, that's winds of 35 miles per hour or more, and then reduced visibility because of snow. I believe it's a quarter of a mile or a tenth of a quarter of a mile. I think I could be wrong on that, but those are your blizzard criteria, and some places might reach that at times later this evening. So, but anyways, it's super windy. So if you get all of that ice on your power lines in your trees, and then it's shaking around everywhere, you have downed tree branches, your power lines. People are going to lose power, and I can't remember the last time Dallas Fort Worth probably saw this much freezing rain. I know in 2013 we had an awful sleet storm. I remember that one quite vividly. You had the cobblestone ice, is what they call it, and we were out of commission for 3, 4, 5 days. They had to send in snow plows from Amarillo because Dallas just isn't equipped with that. That's the last big major icing event I can think of, and for freezing rain, it's been a while. So, this isn't going to be like last year during the intense 7-day below freezing cold snap where everybody was losing, rolling power outages. It's not going to be like that widespread, but for a small area, for 4, 5, 6 counties right there minimum in Texas, you're going to have power outages and issues whenever that wind starts coming in. So it's not looking good. The models have been really consistent with dumping a lot of freezing rain on that area. So this is at 10 o'clock at night. It doesn't have Fort Worth and Dallas getting it. Dallas and Fort Worth, what you have to realize is there's something called it's the island, the heating island effect. And basically what that is you have all this concrete, essentially concrete island is what they call it, of all the development, and it actually keeps your temperatures warmer in the cities than you do in, say, the rural areas, like if you headed out towards Decatur or went up towards Gainesville or whatever. So in the immediate cities, it's warmer. I don't know that that's actually going to play a big enough factor here. It still shows that, is rain, and I don't think it's going to be at that time. I think you're going to have a fairly even transition. So if you can see, if it's transitioning over here, just east of Collin County, you can kind of follow that line and do the math. So this is, like I said, 10 o'clock at night, and it just keeps it through, and then the sleet kind of transitions in the middle of the night. So this is 2 o'clock in the morning. You start getting sleet in Denton and Fort Worth, and then by about 4 o'clock, it's over in Frisco, McKinney. And on the back end, we've got snow. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, at least in Denton, Fort Worth, Gainesville, Sherman, you're going to possibly be getting snow on the back end of this. How much? I still think you're going to see 1 to 2 inches tops. Maybe someone gets a little bit more, like 3-inch amount. But the interesting thing for Tulsa and for Oklahoma is on the backside you have this. I keep pointing. I know you can't see that that doesn't make sense. This area is the back end of the storm of the storm system, and you can get some decent snow in some of those little deformation bands that just stick around for hours. So I mean, this is a Thursday. This is tomorrow night, and Tulsa's still getting some really light snow. Even 2 o'clock in the morning Friday, you've got light snow flurries, and then they move out. So that's one model. That's the North American model, right? I'm going to show you the HRRR as well. This was also the noon run, which runs out more than 18 hours to give you an idea. So I'll backtrack it a little bit. This stuff is kind of what's moving through Tulsa this morning and moving out. Then you have a break, and it's kind of quiet, and just like the other model, just boom, you get this really intense storm system, and this really dark blue, that is heavy snow, and it's right on that transition between the sleet and the snow. So I said it yesterday, as soon as you transition from sleet and you move over to snow, which really from a lot of Tulsa, that's actually already happened. I don't think I think that that transition lines move through, and everything the rest of the day in Tulsa is going to be sleet. Broke or snow, pardon me. Broken Arrow, maybe not so much. You guys will have a little bit of transition, I think, at the beginning, so your roads might be worse there in points south. But that's a heavy band of snow. Just moves through. And if you look down in Dallas, Fort Worth, I'm going to go back to, let's see, this is at 8 o'clock in the evening. So at 8 o'clock, you've got freezing rain starting to move in. And it just does not get better than that. Or it doesn't get better at that point. It does get better than that, I promise. So that's 4 o'clock in the morning, then your sleet's moving through, and then there's that back end snow band again, early Thursday morning. And this does the same thing for Tulsa. As you can see, this is 7 o'clock Thursday. You've got some snow showers moving through the area again, through overnight Thursday. So Isaac said, how long do you think the roads will be bad in Dallas? That is a great question. So big problem here. I'll show snowfall totals and everything here in a minute, but I'm going to show you what the temperatures are going to look like. So let's go over to the North American model because it goes out a little bit further, and let's hit you with the temperatures. So here we go. This is at 6 o'clock this morning. So that's where you can see a little bit better. Okay. So there's the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Your front moves through, and then you dip below freezing tonight, 7 o'clock, 32 degrees, right? So now you stay below 32, and I'm just going to kind of fast forward. Here's, Friday morning, Friday during the day. Okay. This shows at 3 o'clock Friday, you guys going above freezing. If you get a couple inches of snow, like I think you will, I don't know that you actually are going to get above freezing on Friday. The models really like to be more aggressive with warming during the day, and they don't do a great job at figuring out how to predict the temperature when you get snowfall, or in this case, a lot of ice. Your sun, that energy towards heating is all going to go towards trying to melt the ice, not heating the air. So it's not going to be 34, 35 degrees on Friday. I don't think you get above freezing until probably Saturday. So I would say Saturday, and I'll go to a less high resolution model so that we can go a little bit further out. Here is, it's going to get really cold. Okay, so this is Saturday afternoon. So you can see it does show a pocket of colder area because that's where all that ice is. But you probably will see the most improvement starting on Saturday. I think Thursday's terrible. Friday is not much better. Saturday you start to see an improvement, and then it's Sunday that you'll really start to see a bigger improvement. So to answer your question again, yeah, roads aren't going to probably get good in the Dallas-Fort Worth area until Saturday afternoon. So be prepared to kind of just stay home, not go anywhere. So let me hope that answers your question. Got to go back to this. And I've talked mostly about ice and snow, and I'm going to show the totals here in a second, but it's going to get cold. I mean, these are just the regular temperatures, right? When you get snowpack, or ice in that case, and your winds die down and you have a clear night, your temperatures can just bottom out big time. If it's cloudy, it sounds funny, but the clouds, during the day it makes things cooler, but at night it actually makes things warmer because it acts like a blanket. It keeps that warm air from just escaping and going away. It kind of holds it in there. I mean, I say warm, not super warm, but warmer than it would be otherwise. In that case, your temperatures can really plummet. Wind chills, you're going to, in Dallas-Fort Worth, I mean, it's going to feel like near 0 degrees. Let me show you. So, yeah, this is the wind chill. So, front moves through. And, yeah, I mean, you're getting onto single digits for the wind chill. So, Maybe not near 0 degrees, but it's going to feel like it. So it's going to be cold, 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 cold. Okay, I'm going to show you the output on the North American model and the HRRR. So here's snow, and I'm going to walk this forward. These amounts aren't going to be impressive for Dallas-Fort Worth, but you can see, Tulsa area, that's 7-8 inches of snow. If I bounce over to the HRRR, you're going to get similar result, except more so. This gives us about near 9 inches of snow. So you can see a pattern, but this gives Dallas-Fort Worth more snow. 3 inches, 4 inches. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the most anybody sees in those immediate 4 counties, I think Denton, maybe Fort Worth gets 3 inches. Everybody else, you're looking at 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky. You're, like I keep saying, it's sleet and freezing rain is your problem. So that's the sleet forecast for so that's the noon run of the most high-res model really we have that runs every hour. And you can see 3.5 inches of sleet is terrible. That's terrible. I mean, it's fun if you don't have to go anywhere. It's fun to go outside and slide around on the street. I remember, this was like 10 years ago, I remember seeing a video in Frisco of somebody who put their ice skates on and they skated around their street like it was an ice skating rink. That's what sleet does. So that's what you need to be prepared for. Freezing rain, this model gives you guys more sleet than freezing rain, which is good. But look, I mean, 0.21 what is that, like Keller? That's not good. 0.74 in Gainesville, 0.84 in Durant, which is, and I think in Sherman it's even more on there. I mean, you're approaching an inch of freezing rain. That's crippling. That is absolutely crippling. If you haven't gone out and already gotten supplies and everything to yesterday, you need to go today, and you need to be home before rush hour. Before 6 o'clock at the latest is when you need to be home. So I'm going to show you the same things on here, the North American model. Again, not as intense with the sleet in Dallas-Fort Worth. That brings it more to your northwest, Wichita Falls and everything, which means, I can tell you already, that means it's going to give you guys more freezing rain right here. Still, an inch and a half of sleet, no bueno. Here's your freezing rain. Yeah, very similar thing as the HRRR, but a little bit further south. Again, you see this pocket where it shows nothing? That's because it's trying to tell us that, hey, the city's too warm. I don't buy that. That's just not going to happen. So you can kind of extrapolate whatever points are on it. You're not going to go from 0.65 inches in North Tarrant County and then as soon as you hit Fort Worth have nothing. That's not going to happen that way. So 0.65, 0.58, those are really, that's McKinney, Frisco, that's bad. That's a bad ice storm. And I can show you that that's exactly what the National Weather Service in Fort Worth thinks, if it'll cooperate. So here's the National Weather Service in Fort Worth. This is what they're thinking. So you can see, and I'll just bounce over to this. This is the image I was trying to find. So this is their ice accumulation forecast. You see Denton, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of freezing rain. Same thing for McKinney. You go up here, it's almost an inch. And you're going to see isolated pockets of that in places. It's not going to be good. That's an intense impact. Your roads, all your roads are slick and covered. You've got power outages, tree damage. It's bad. And then this is what they think about the snow and sleet forecast. So they're saying, hey, this is probably like what's reasonable to expect in terms of sleet and snow. So 2 to 3 inches of snow in snow/sleet in Fort Worth. You're going to see the same in Denton. Again, though, I think these areas might see a little bit more snow. And this is like your best case scenario if you love snow. Like, how much could I get? Decatur could get 3 to 4. McKinney 2 to 3, Denton you're probably at 3.5 inches right there. So that's what we're looking at. That's what I got for you. It's cold and it's coming. It's gonna be an intense one. It gets, people have asked me, when does it get the worst? 7 o'clock in Dallas Fort Worth. You just need to be home. You need to be home, and you don't need to leave home for a couple days unless you absolutely have to. But you're gonna be seeing stuff on the news already. Tonight. The 10 o'clock news comes on, and it's all they're going to talk about is overpasses, and the roads are all getting iced up, and it's windy. And Tulsa, like I said, probably 4 o'clock is when everything starts moving through. So let me look at questions. Looks like that's all the questions I have. So if you watch this later, feel free to still type in a question, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you and let you know what's going on. So that's it for now. I'm going to probably do some Facebook Lives from my car when the heavy snow starts moving through up here in Tulsa. So be looking for that. And I'll give an update tonight too, whenever everything starts moving into the Dallas-Fort Worth area and Tulsa, everything like that. So I'll keep you guys updated, but it's pretty much locked in at this point. There's not a